Hi, this is Jason Chapman with Production Voices showing you Production Grand and our settings for pre-attack. Let's give you an explanation of what pre-attack is. Pre-attack is the noise that's made by the mechanics, the key mechanism, before the string is actually triggered. So when you strike a note, you're hearing the sound of the key bed before the hammer hits the strings. Now, the issue that we have is that whether you hit a key slow, low velocity, or fast, a high velocity, there is a time difference in there. Imagine pressing a key ever so slowly. Now, we went as slow as 180 milliseconds on keys, and what we found is that we could still trigger a low note with that 180 millisecond timing, and we could also strike a key really fast velocity, and create a loud sound, and that pre-attack would be next to nothing, like 3 milliseconds to 8 milliseconds, depending on the note and how it's triggered. But those are important sounds that create an authentic piano sound. Other manufacturers either A, do not include pre-attack, so that when you press the key down, you actually only hear the sound of the hammer hitting the string, or they include pre-attack but only give you one variable for the latency or how long it takes for each of these, and they try and edit these in a way that they average it out. We've decided to do a little more complete thing where we put in the script, the programming for Production Grand, that if a low velocity is hit or a high velocity, we've timed all the notes so that they would line up. But what's happened is you can't play it live anymore. You can't use pre-attack live anymore, but it still gives you a great authentic sound. So let me show you what I've got. I've got the Mendelssohn piece here loaded up. And then while I'm doing this, I might as well load key up while I've got it going on. That might cause my computer to crash, who knows. Going back to the mixer, these are the settings. I only have the outside microphones on for this demonstration, but I'm using the modern edition, not the vintage. It's all turned off. And I've got the pre-attack turned on. And let's go in and just solo it. So then this is rather low. I'm going to crank it up. Now, it's going to sound a little bit weird on its own because you're not hearing the crossfades and how this is actually happening, but I just want you to hear what this sounds like. So I'm selecting pedal down attack. You're only going to hear the pedal down, and then let's solo it. So what you're hearing is the computer play back these really weird sounding notes, right? And they sound like they're snapping, but they don't snap in context. They actually work very well within the group itself. So then let's turn those down a little bit and hear it turn back on. And they're blended perfectly in. So they add that key mechanism back in. Authentic recording. We're not simulating this. This is exactly the sound that's coming in and timed and edited per note and per velocity. So this is every single one was done with detail and care. Now, the issue that we have is that we had to add that delay back in order to make the pre-attack work for us. So what you have to do within your sequencer is do nothing if you're just doing piano, solo piano, and recording it in. So you record it in without pre-attack, you turn pre-attack back on after you've recorded it in, and everything will line up and sound perfect and be in time. But if you have other tracks such as bass, drums, and whatever you might be adding to your piano as well, you have to do a timing delay. Now, it has to be 180 milliseconds. Within Logic, you can choose the delay. And you can do this by manually delaying something in Pro Tools or any other digital audio workstation. So it tells you two things. One, what the quarter note or note value delay is, and then also what the approximate millisecond delay is. So you can see here, 240 would be too much, 160 is not enough. So then when you put in the delay, you have to choose a fraction that's in between or adjust the this one way or the other. Now, one way that you can adjust this is to put everything starting out at measure 2, and then within Logic you'll see you can view your timing difference. So I'm just going to go in and say bar in time, and then if you zoom in, you can just put this ahead by a little bit, right? So that what was a delay before is no longer a delay. And of course, you'd have to zoom in and make sure that you can do it what 180 milliseconds would be. So that's manually adjusting it. I tend to, when I use this, do one of two things. I'll have two tracks with the exact same MIDI information, one that's set up for pre-attack and another one that's sending to the same instrument that is not pre-attacked. So let me just show you that as an example. So I'm just going to go option, software instrument track, whatever. I'll have nothing on it for the time being and just show you what I want to do. So I just copy that down and it would, these two tracks, and then I'd choose to mute one depending on whether I have pre-attack on or off or whatever. So then at least it's playing. So that is pre-attack on Production Grand. Authentic sounding, requires a little bit of work, but the payoff is great.